Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, we're back in the kitchen today because we wanted to show you some of the awesome things that we've been doing with our Harvest Right freeze dryer.
Now on our homestead, we raise and grow so much of our own food. We already preserve a lot of it in different ways. We do a lot of canning, we freeze a lot, we do some dehydrating, but we wanted an additional way to preserve our hard work, our homegrown and home-raised food for long-term storage. Now, the freezer has some benefits, but it also has some drawbacks that, things can happen with your freezer, your power can go out, and you risk losing a lot of your food that way. Canning is great for kind of short-term storage, maybe up to the 2-year mark, maybe 3 years. And dehydrating, really that stuff needs to be used up within a year. We really wanted a way to preserve our harvest and our meat for a longer amount of time for food security purposes and to just have things around in another way that we can enjoy.
When we started researching what would be the best way to do that, we ended up looking at a freeze dryer because it was one of the few ways that you could really preserve things for a long time. Harvest Right is one of the only manufacturers of home freeze dryers, so freeze dryers that you can actually buy for your home that are fairly affordable and easy to use for the average person. So when we got our freeze dryer a few months ago, we just started going crazy with it, doing as much stuff as we could, and we thought today we'd show you some of the things that we've been doing.
Now in the past videos you've seen, we've done a lot of eggs, raw eggs, cooked eggs, some of our diced vegetables, onions, green peppers. We experimented with some meat, but recently we've been experimenting with leftovers.
Right. Yeah, initially we mostly did ingredients. We did things that we could turn into something, but now we've really gotten into just doing, like Sarah said, our leftovers, which are complete meals, just basically ready to rehydrate and eat, which is pretty awesome.
Over the winter, I make a lot of soups, a lot of stews, things that are warm, and I generally cook in, big batches. A lot of times we'll eat that meal, the leftovers, for the next couple meals, lunches and that kind of thing. But I thought, it'd be really great to experiment freeze drying the leftovers to have ready to eat meals, either to take camping, to send with the kids when they go to college for dorm life. It would be great to help out elderly with this kind of meal. And hey, if we just need something quick, we can just add some water, heat it up, and have a really great homemade, home-raised meal.
All right, we know you guys really like it when we show you the actual food that we freeze-dried, taste it so you can see what it looks like in its freeze-dried form, what it looks like when it's reconstituted, and we can give you our opinion on whether or not it's as good as it was the day that we made it. So we've got 5 things here that we've picked out today. These, again, are all leftovers, so these are complete meals that we've made in the past. Some of these are a few months old, some of them are just a couple weeks old, but we're going to try them all for you here today.
So what we're going to be trying today, we have Mexican chicken soup.
That we freeze-dried back in November, so that's about 4 months old.
Right. Split pea soup, and actually this split pea soup I actually had in the freezer, so I thawed it out and then put it through the freeze dryer. I really like the option to be able to take things out of the freezer that have been taking up room, put them through the freeze dryer, and get them out of my freezer. So this split pea soup, even though I only did it a couple weeks ago, it had been in the freezer for quite a while.
Right.
And
I actually had that for lunch today.
It was really good. Yeah. I have some butternut squash soup, some chili, I have some pasta meat sauce. So that's not a complete meal. We'd have to, boil up some noodles, but we're going to try that today too.
So those are the 5 things that we're going to be trying for you guys. Let us start getting them all opened up. We'll show you what they look like, again, in their freeze-dried form. On the stove, I have some water boiling. We'll add some boiling water to these. And then while these are sitting for a while, we'll talk to you about some of the other things we have to talk about. All right, so we're going to start by opening each of these and putting them in the bowl so that you guys can see exactly what each of them looks like. All right, let's start with the split pea soup here. Now this is split pea with ham, so the ham is right in here freeze dried as well. Get our oxygen absorber out of there. It smells exactly like split pea soup. It's actually pretty strange. You can see, basically it's just chunks of split pea soup. They're super light and crumbly. Even the ham is crumbly. Alright, so that's our split pea soup. You set that bag out of the way. Now when we're done, we'll actually seal these back up because we're not going to eat everything that's in every bag today. So we'll seal these back up so we can save what we don't use here today. Alright, split pea soup. The next one is the Mexican chicken soup. You can see this has chicken right in there, has corn, everything right there. All right. This one is butternut squash soup. This is from butternut squash that we grew in the garden last year. This is actually one of my favorite soups that Sarah makes. Now again, the nice thing about freeze drying is that it also retains 100% of the nutrition. So however nutritious the meal was when you made it, you put it through the freeze dryer and it's going to keep all of that nutrition right in the food. Alright, next up is chili. And you can see it's got beans in it, it's got meat in it. It's just awesome. Alright, and then the last thing is going to be the pasta sauce that also has ground meat in it. I'm excited to have another option for the pasta sauce when we do our garden this year, because as many of you probably know, there has been shortages on canning supplies, and so if it gets to the point where for some reason we can't get canning supplies, the freeze dryer is an excellent option for doing all kinds of stuff. So we're excited about it. Our plan isn't to replace canning with the freeze dryer, but it is nice to have a backup plan in case we can't do as much canning as we normally do. Alright, so here are the 5 things that we're going to be trying. I can hear that our water is just about boiling, so I'm going to get the water and we're going to start reconstituting all of these so we can taste them and see how they are. Alright, I'm going to add the water. Sarah's going to stir each one as we go. We'll start with our pasta sauce here.
Now there's no perfect formula about how much water to add to all of these things that we're reconstituting. Just add some, stir it up, wait a little bit. If you think it needs a little bit more, add a little bit more. The nice thing about soups is, hey, there was a lot of water in it to begin with.
Right.
So if you add a little bit too much, it's just a little bit waterier.
Soupier.
Exactly. All right, so let me stir that.
All right.
You move on.
Okay.
After we get this all stirred up, we'll probably leave it to, just sit here and absorb it for, 20 or 30 minutes or something to make sure that it's nice and rehydrated. The spaghetti sauce smells amazing. Right.
That's one really weird thing, I think, is when you first do this, is just how quickly the smells come back to life. I mean, it smells exactly the way it did when you were originally making it, which is just, it's just strange. I mean, it's just a weird sensation.
And what's been weird for me, and it really shouldn't be weird, is that after we bring everything out of the freeze dryer, if you taste like some of the powder, like for instance, the chili, shouldn't it taste like chili? That's what you would want it to, but for some reason, it's like surprising that it tastes exactly like chili in powder form.
Right. Yeah, because really, you don't have to reconstitute everything. If you really wanted to just eat chili chunks, you could just eat chili chunks.
Just drink a lot of water.
Right, just wash it down well.
Another thing that is just amazing when you reconstitute these, it's so amazing that the texture that it originally had, that's what it has when you reconstitute it.
Right.
I think the craziest thing for me was when we reconstituted raw eggs, that when you scramble raw eggs, you know, how they're kind of, you know, slimy. That's exactly how they were when you put the water back in after they were freeze-dried. It was just strange, but awesome.
Right. Now, we're past the stage in our lives where we're going to have babies anytime soon. But after seeing how this butternut squash soup
yeah,
you know, to be able to do this with baby food, maybe when we have grandbabies someday, because we have 2 daughters, grandbabies someday, to be able to make homemade freeze-dried baby food that they can just then add some water to and have baby food would be awesome.
Right, and you know, when you first start out feeding baby food, it's really thin. And as they get older, it gets thicker and thicker.
Right.
So ultimately, you have all the control.
Right, yeah, this would give you the option to make it however you want.
Right.
Which actually is something Sarah and I never agree on with split pea soup. She likes split pea soup kind of more watery.
More soupy.
And I like it really thick. So this is a way, I guess this will finally settle an argument between us, because when I make mine, I can just add a little bit of water. When she makes hers, she can add a lot of water.
Well, you definitely need more water in this one. This is kind of paste. There. Okay, guys, everything looks good. We are going to let this sit for about 20 or 30 minutes before we test them for you. But in the meantime, there have been some questions that you guys have asked us on our other freeze drying videos that we just want to have a chance to answer for you while these things sit here and reconstitute. Before we change the subject though, just look at how these are looking already. It's only been about 5 minutes, you guys. And here, look at, this is my pasta sauce. Looks fantastic. Chili. Butternut squash soup. My Mexican chicken soup, and the split pea soup. They are looking wonderful. I can't even believe it. Okay, let's change subjects just really quickly while these things finish, and then we'll give them a taste.
You guys have had a lot of questions about why we're doing most of our freeze-dried things in Mylar bags instead of doing them in something like vacuum seal bags. So we wanted to take a couple minutes to talk to you about that today and let you know why we're doing things the way that we are and why we think it's the best way to be doing it.
Well, first of all, the Mylar bag system is actually what is recommended from Harvest Right Freeze Dryer Company.
Right.
And when you buy your freeze dryer, it includes this sealer which melts a line in the Mylar bags, and includes some Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers.
Right, I think you get 50 of each with the freeze dryer when you buy it.
Right, so you put your food inside one of these bags, you put an oxygen absorber in it, and then you seal it like this with the sealer, and it is good for up to 20 to 25 years if you store it in a cool, dark place.
Right. Now, you can buy Mylar bags in a variety of places. These are the ones that we got free with the freeze dryer, but we've also purchased some from Azure Standard. You guys know we do a lot of ordering with them. We'll leave a link if you aren't familiar with them, but they have really good deals on them. I think we ordered 2 sizes. We ordered gallon size, which I think we pay about 30 cents a piece for, and then quart size, which we pay about 15 cents a piece for, and then about 10 cents a piece for the oxygen absorber. So you're talking, for a gallon size bag, 35 cents to store your food, and for a quart size bag, like 25 cents. So I think it's worth it to have it done correctly. There are definitely some things that you want to know about Mylar bags versus the vacuum seal bags. So why use the Mylar bags instead of vacuum seal? Vacuum sealing definitely has its place, and its place really primarily is in the freezer. Vacuum sealing does a very good job in the freezer of keeping freezer burn out, and it's good for kind of, short term, kind of medium term length of time. So if you're putting something in the freezer for a year or two, vacuum sealing can really do a good job. Many of you probably know, if you vacuum sealed things in the past, once it gets more than a couple of years old, there is a pretty high failure rate where it'll start to let air in, and it's not ideal at that point. The Mylar bags, on the other hand, are much thicker. They will, once they're sealed, they're going to stay sealed forever, and when you put the oxygen absorber in, it's going to, pull all of the oxygen out until you open that seal. The other advantage to Mylar bags is that they're opaque. They don't allow any sunlight to hit your food, which can really degrade the quality of your food over time. So my suggestion would be this. Vacuum seal bags belong in the freezer. Dry goods that you're either freeze drying or dehydrating that you're going to store on a shelf for a long time should be in Mylar bags. That's my opinion. I know a lot of people have differing opinions. That's the way we do it here because I think that's where the research says things should go.
Now there are some things that we are going to be freeze drying that I'm going to be using up within a year.
Right.
Specifically diced onions and diced sweet peppers. And I'm actually going to be using a Food Saver vacuum sealer to seal them in jars like this.
Right.
Now for 6 months, a year, that's okay in here. Light is going to penetrate through these, so you're going to lose a little bit of color, you're going to lose a little bit of nutrition after, the 6 months to a year. But because I'm going to be going in and out of these jars throughout the year, I can re-vacuum seal them and put them back on the shelf.
Right.
Rather than having to cut open a Mylar bag and reseal it, cut it open, reseal it.
Right.
And that's just going to work really well for us.
Right. And things that, honestly, that we're going to eat relatively quickly within a few weeks of freeze drying, we don't even do that. We just put it in jars and screw a lid on. This is some okra that I took out of the freezer. We had this frozen, and then I put it through the freeze dryer just honestly to make some snacks for myself because freeze dried okra is awesome.
It's like potato chips. It's like
Right.
veggie chips. It's really healthy, a good snack, and using it in a jar, either vacuum sealed or not,
Right.
is a good opportunity to not waste the Mylar bags.
Right. So that's how we're doing it. We know you guys have had a lot of questions about that. I hope that helps clear it up a little bit. I definitely think it's worth the investment to get some Mylar bags if you're going to be storing things long term. All right, the moment of truth, because honestly, nothing else matters if when you reconstitute the food, it doesn't taste good. So as far as I'm concerned, you throw the whole freeze dryer away if the food is terrible when you get done. So let's try it and find out.
Okay, we're going to start with the split pea soup. Just mix it up a little bit. Looks fantastic.
Right. All right, let's give it a try. Nope, split pea soup is my absolute favorite soup, so it has high expectations here. Sarah makes good split pea soup.
You liked it the first time.
Right, and like I said earlier, I had this for lunch today, so I already know it's good. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. The texture is perfect.
Yeah. It's weird that even the ham comes back to life just exactly the way it should be. I mean, it just, I don't know. When you guys get your own freeze dryer, you'll understand. It's very strange.
Okay, let's move on to the Mexican chicken soup.
Again, this is something that we have pretty often, so.
I really just make this up.
All right.
It's a made-up recipe. It is so good.
Amazing.
Woo! It's a little spicy.
It is a little spicy.
It's very good.
And that's the other thing. If you like things, say you like Tabasco sauce in your chili, and you're afraid like, hey, I'm doing this for, a survival situation, and I'm afraid that when the apocalypse comes, I'm not going to have Tabasco sauce. Just put it in the chili before you freeze dry it, and then when you reconstitute it, it'll be right there. Pretty cool. All right.
Let's try the chili.
Now, Sarah has won contests with her chili, so
Tastes like my chili.
Right. This is exactly the way it tastes when she makes it fresh, which is awesome.
Okay, on to the butternut soup.
Right.
Butternut squash soup.
Right. These are with the Canada crookneck squash that we grew in the garden last year, which if you haven't seen the videos that we did when we were harvesting those, they did amazing.
They did.
We still have them down in the cellar, so they're doing really well.
Okay, try it.
All right, let's give it a try. And this is the one I think too that could work as a baby food.
Right.
A little strange after the chili.
No, it's perfect.
But
you
it's
guys,
sweet.
the
It's really...
texture is perfect.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, like the whole raw egg thing. It's smooth.
Right.
It's just so perfect. The
Right.
taste is exactly the same as it was.
Right.
Okay, last thing is the spaghetti meat sauce. Let me stir it up real quick.
Now all of these have been sitting about 20 minutes, so, and I think that's about perfect.
Yeah.
If you don't let it sit long enough, you know, like say like in the chili, the beans might still be a little crunchy or things like that, so let it sit.
And in the spaghetti sauce, because there's quite a bit of ground meat in it, that might be a little bit crunchy too, so be patient.
Right. All right, let's give this a try. Wow. Perfect.
That's amazing, you guys.
The texture of the meat is exactly the way it should be. The texture of the peppers, the onions, everything is exactly the way it should be.
This is so amazing that this tastes like the exact day that I made them. And there's no risk that these leftovers are going to get forgotten in my refrigerator and wasted. They can just go right from the pan that I cooked them in after we're done with dinner, put it on the freeze dryer trays, stick it either stick it right into the freeze dryer with the rest of your trays or store it in the freezer for just a couple days until you're ready. Stick it in there, push the button, and then it turns into freeze-dried meals. It's amazing.
Right. So it's pretty amazing to be able to have all of this homemade food just, you know, minutes away from being ready when you have a freeze dryer. When we were originally looking at freeze dryers, one of the things we were really concerned about, because honestly, we were like, is it just a gimmick? Is it really going to work as well as they say? Because let's be honest, we've all been ripped off. We've all purchased things that just didn't live up to what we expected them to be. But I'll tell you guys 100% the freeze dryer is not one of those things. It's something that I think is really worth its weight in gold. You know, they are a little pricey. We've talked to you guys in the past about the fact that Harvest Right offers like a layaway program where you can just pay a little bit at a time until you get it paid off. And then when you get to a certain point, they'll actually ship it to you and you can pay the rest off after they ship it to you. So you guys, you should definitely check them out and see if it's something good for your family.
We do have more information about Harvest Right freeze dryers in the description section of this video. So if you're interested in learning more, go ahead to that section to learn more. You guys, we had fun today, and I'm so glad that we had an opportunity to answer some of your questions.
And now I know what I'm going to have for dinner. A little bit of everything.
All of this. So you guys, thanks for stopping by our homestead. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button below if you are liking our videos. Also, share our videos on all of your social media because that's really the best way that you can help us here. And until next time, take care and God bless.
God bless.